Welcome to Yeadon Community News, your independent source for Yeadon Community News.
You were part. Yeah.
Are there any other comments? Excuse me, if you're not recognized by the chair, you have Excuse me. I know most of you probably don't hear what I have to say. I would ask you as self to at least respect the fact that okay, now I'm not going to argue with you. Excuse me. We're still waiting for the house. I would ask you to at least allow me to speak. Allow me to speak.
Speak, go ahead, speak.
Now, we stayed out and we stood our ground for the sake of Yeadon. You probably do not want to hear what I have to say, but I would ask you to please be respectful and just listen for just a moment. And if you don't want to hear it here, you don't have to. The community. The people are in the community. If you don't want me to speak, then I will be quiet. But there are people in here who do want me to speak. We do. The people in this community, over 500, 600, 700 people, more than the people that's in this room, they supported us and they trusted us to come in here and make changes because of what took place in the past. Now, some of the people in here are maybe not, you're not aware of what took place before. But what you are the subject of right now is letters that have come to your house with no names on it, with lies. Now we have Dr. Vivian Ford here. The people who are speaking, who will not allow me to speak, and because they don't want me to speak. Now, there was a letter that went around the community stating that Dr. Ford owed $30,000 in taxes. That was a lie. All through the information that you received was a lie. It was used to deceive you. Now, this girl has been sued over 5 times because of the behavior of what took place while we were out. Now, the special meeting that was scheduled, it was scheduled to embarrass Yeadon, to bring Yeadon down, to incite you. Do you really know why? Because they want to be back in charge, to go back to where we were before. We were in a deficit for the amount of years that they were in charge. And let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of the decisions that were made. And that's why we stood our ground for this community. One of the decisions that was made when they were in leadership, if you would listen to what I have to say, you'll learn something. One of the decisions that was made when they were in leadership was they reduced the full-time status of the police secretary after the police chief said that he needed extra help. So instead of giving them extra help, they said that there was no money. So they reduced their hours, not only from part-time to full-time, but they took away their benefits. Now there's if you please listen, you're going to learn something. There's $22,000 that's allotted for all of us to tap into for insurance. And so many of us didn't even tap into that money. But instead of giving those police officers, those police secretaries, money or keeping them at a full-time status, they were reduced to part-time and no benefits. But Mr. Johnson here didn't think it was robbery to give himself a $24,000 insurance plan that took care of him and his family when that was over the budget for all of the residents here.
And you said this more than once.
I'm speaking.
And so you call yourself calling telephone Isaac Johnson.
I am still speaking. I listened to you when you spoke. There are many things in that information that has been passed in your house that are filled with lies. Now, you may not want to believe it, but But we thought it was important to us to stand for the people in this community. You may not want to believe it. Let me say this: the people in this community, they voted. They voted, and they voted for us. And listen to this. Before the election, there was a letter that went out that was filled with lies. We didn't know who it was, but guess what? We know who it was. And it's the people in here who did it. We know exactly who it was. But they hide behind, you hear what she's saying? Who? Because if you accept information that comes to your house without a name, without a person, without an organization that you can tap, you gotta be careful. You have to be careful. We are at a surplus now. We have repaired this building. We have put an air conditioner in a library. We have put lights down there. The whole time, the lights don't work. The whole time that these people were in leadership, we were at a deficit, and we are now at a surplus. And now many things.
That's money that you're not spending that you need to spend.
You may not want to hear what I have to say, but if you want to know why we were not here, it was for the good of business. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
But my point to you is, I want to know and have a point of clarification on the contract between Yeadon and Sharon Hill, Yeadon and Darby, and any other concerns that have to do with our tax dollars and liability. I want to know, is there a difference between the contracts that were handed out between Yeadon and Sharon Hill in terms of money, who gets what and when, Yeadon, how that was funded, Darby, how that was funded, and our liability? So you have no rate on Sharon Hill?
No, this is it's a 501c3.
So all your money is tax-free money. You have no funding from the Borough of Yeadon. Are you under the Recreation Department?
Yes.
My other question is, how did they get under the Recreation Department?
I know that change is very difficult to adjust to.
I think I answered very easily.
I ask that all organizations be placed under recreation so that we could budget carefully and spend money in a way that we know what is going out to each organization. Now, some people did not want to do that, and some people on our council did not want that to happen. But it's a good way of keeping an accounting of how money is spent and where it is spent. We now know every organization and how much money they get, how often they get it, and how much money they get, and how many have accumulated. And it keeps us within our budget. We don't have people asking for $2,500 here, $1,500 there, $7,000 here. We know exactly, and the board does an excellent job in determining who should get what.
Specifically, there was a $20,000 line item, and it still is in the budget under the recreation program for Fresh Start. At the beginning of the summertime, I asked Ms. McGrath to come in and sit down, or Ms. Lewis, come in and sit down and lay out a budget that we could agree would get her through the summer program with only expending $20,000. I have not seen any contract with Darby, and I haven't seen a contract with Sharon Hill, so I can't compare them. I've heard differences, but I haven't actually seen the contract. And we do not have a specific contract with Fresh Start. We have only reimbursable expenses, and we have contract payments to the counselors that work for Fresh Start. So that's how the program is there, and it is identified in the budget.
Yeadon Community News, your independent source for news and information.